How's it going, YouTube? RoboStG here, finally bringing you guys the BT11 rulings video. I know it is super late at this point by the time this video goes up. BT12 is coming right around the corner. I think pre-release is coming out soon by the time I get this video up. So we are going to be a little bit behind on our actual recording schedule, but I did want to have this up for the archive. I know we're deep into BT11, and a lot of these rulings are something that you guys may already not know about, but it's still good to have in the archive for in case newer players come back or come into the game, or maybe people hop back in after this set and then they want to learn about some of the interactions that come out, because some of the decks still stay relevant, so it's still important to go over these. So enough of the introduction. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what you guys are here to see, which is all of our rulings. Alright everyone, so into the first ruling that we have. Again, as normal, I'm going to start with red and then work our way down the color wheel so we can go over all the interactions. But the first one that we have is Shoutmon plus Star Sword. A couple of things to go over about Shoutmon plus Star Sword. The first one, of course, is going to be its material save errata. So its material save effect is material save 1. That is correct. It does only allow you to material save one thing on deletion, or when it would be deleted. But the one thing is, in its reminder text, it says you may place 2 cards in this Digimon's Digicruise requirements. That's incorrect, of course. Like I said, it is still just a material save 1. It's just a reminder text error. So ignore that. Mainly focus on the big wording, the actual effect, the keyword material save. It can only save 1. The other thing that I had a bunch of questions on when it comes to this card is, can it be treated as more than one Digicross requirement? And be like, what do you mean? Why are you talking about that? Well, it has the effect, it's the first line of effect. This card / Digimon is also treated as having Shoutmon and Starmons in its name. Most of the time, this doesn't really cause an issue, but some people get confused when you say are going to Digicross into Shoutmon Cross 4. Shoutmon Cross 4, of course, has 2 Digicross requirements, or 4 Digicross requirements, one of which is Shoutmon and one of which is Starmons. A lot of people ask me, can you use this as both Shoutmon and Starmons? And the answer to that is separately, yes. Together, no. And what I mean by that is, whenever you Digicross and you use Shoutmon, whenever you declare the Digicross, you have to decide if you're going to use this as Shoutmon or if you're going to use it as Starmons. You cannot use it at both to reduce by 1. So if you decide to use it as Shoutmon and you place it, you only reduce it by 2. Same thing for Starmons. You can't use it as 2 and then reduce it by 4. But not super complicated, but just something to go over. Alrighty everyone, so now into our blue rulings. Again, not many on the red side, small rulings video overall this time. We're going to go over this fun little interaction with the board state as it's set up here. Now, one thing to note here is the main card that we're worried about is Rina Shinomiya. So I have 2 Rina Shinominas on the field. This is important for this example. The effect that we're worried about here is the all turns when one of your Digimon with Vidramon in its name becomes suspended. By suspending this tamer, activate one of that Digimon's when Digivolving effects. We, of course, have All Force Vidramon. None of his effects really play an effect into this. It's just to note that he has a when Digivolving effect. You also note that the All Force Vidramon does have an X antibody in its sources. Now, the key point that we're worried about here is with X antibody is when attacking, this Digimon can Digivolve into a Digimon with X antibody in its traits in your hand for its Digivolution cost. The X antibody Digimon in hand is, of course, going to be, of course, like I say, you were expecting it, it's going to be Omnimon X antibody. Now, this Digimon has a couple of effects. We're going to really focus on, I'm going to go over both when Digivolving effects. Return all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest level to the bottom of their owner's decks, and then of course he has the other one where you can take a level 6 or an X antibody in the sources, put it to the bottom of the deck to look at your opponent's security, trash one of them, and then place it back, and then they shuffle. So in this example, this goes into a fun little interaction with how Rina works. So what happens is, this is our setup. We have the All Force with the X antibody. We attack with X or All Force, and this triggers 3 things. It is a Vidramon in name becoming suspended, so both Rinas trigger, because all it takes to trigger is a Digimon with Vidramon in its name, and then the when attacking effect of X antibody. So here, it's met the trigger condition of Rina and X antibody. We're going to go ahead and activate the effect of All Force Vidramon first. So here in this, we are going to Digivolve into Omnimon X antibody. So when we Digivolve an Omnimon X antibody, we're going to activate its effect, bottom deck the X antibody, and then we're going to go ahead, look at their opponent's security, yada, yada, yada. Our opponent's going to have a board set up kind of like this. So in this example, what they have is a level 3, a level 4, and a level 5. This is important for how we're going to have this effect set up. Then, now that we've activated the one when Digivolving effect, we're going to activate the other when Digivolving effect, which is to bottom deck the Digimon with the highest level. So in this situation, we're going to bottom deck their Omni Shoutmon. Now, the only other thing that we have left pending before this attack can actually land are the 2 Renas. And you may be saying, well, the Renas can't activate, there's not an All Force. But they did reach their trigger condition of a Vidramon becoming suspended, and they target that Digimon when they are able to activate that Digimon's Wind Digivolving effects. So, since that Digimon, the Digimon that was All Force Vidramon, is still the one that activated their trigger condition, they are still able to activate. So here, you could suspend one of the Renas to activate one of the Wind Digivolving effects of the All Force. Of the Digimon that was All Force of the Omnimon X Antibody. Now, in this situation, it is just Rena making that Digimon activate one of its Wind Digivolving effects, so you're not able to activate that once per turn effect. You can't make your opponent trash a whole bunch of security, but you can still activate the first Wind Digivolving effect that lets you bottom deck the highest level Digimon. So in this case, we'll bottom deck the Ballistamon, and then we still have another pending Rena. You can suspend that one, bottom deck the Starmon. Now your opponent doesn't have any Digimon on the field, and if there are multiple, as long as there's only 3 levels, you basically clear the field with this effect. Then of course your attack would land and you would go on from there. But this is a fun little interaction. I actually believe the FAQ goes over this, but it is interesting to see in person, and I thought it was important to go over. Alright everyone, so into our yellow rulings. This one is going to be a little bit more intricate. It's more of a complicated one. Basically got introduced here with BT11 when it came to what they call a series of effects, and I'm going to try to explain it as best I can, but it is one of those complex things, but it doesn't come up super often, so don't worry too much about it unless you have the Sukamon mirror, which in that case then you kind of have to worry a little bit about it. So in this situation, what we have is the Sukamon mirror. King Sukamon and King Sukamon, both of them have BT11 Sukamon in source, which basically have an interruptive all turns effect. When this Digimon would be deleted, you can delete another Sukamon on the field, doesn't matter if it's yours or your opponent's, to prevent that deletion. So here, in this example, let's say we have our King Sukamon will swing at our opponent's security, it hits something bigger than it, so normally it would die in the security battle. Well, you can prevent that deletion by go ahead and activating the inherited effect of Sukamon to delete our opponent's King Sukamon to prevent that deletion. But our opponent's King Sukamon also has the same inherited effect where it can prevent its own deletion by deleting another Sukamon on the field. So in that case, their King Sukamon would go ahead and target our King Sukamon to prevent their own deletion. You'll notice that that all turns effect on Sukamon, and I guess King Sukamon, since they have the same inherited effect, does not have a once per turn. That, in this case, doesn't matter because the effects that are causing the Sukamon to be deleted by our King Sukamon to be deleted by our opponent's King Sukamon is still in what they call a series of effects. It's basically a chain of effects, not like an actual chain, but a chain of effects that leads to an effect having to resolve multiple times. That is an interruptive effect, like this when this Digimon would be deleted, which is an interruptive effect, the unofficial term that we use. Whenever you have it trying to activate the same instance of the same interruptive effect in a chain of effects or a series of effects, you are not allowed to activate that effect as if it had a once per turn, but more likely would be once per series of effects. So in this case, this King Sukamon is not able to activate this effect of the Sukamon inherited effect again to prevent its deletion, and it will be deleted by the inherited effect of our opponent's King Sukamon, and then the battle will end, of course, because the Digimon's no longer on the field and all the preventive effects have ended. I know this is kind of a more complicated thing. This doesn't come up a whole lot. There's not a ton of interactions that I can think of off the top of my head that cause this. I'm sure other people know plenty more. But this really only usually comes up really bad in the mirror when you have multiple of these. I will also say is if you had this stack again, and let's say this King Sukamon had another instance of that inherited effect, so like something like a second Sukamon in source, then you would be able to activate the second instance of the effect. You just can't activate the same instance of the same card. So like I said, it gets a little complicated, but just know that if in a series of effects like this you have a inherited or a interruptive effect that tries to activate more than once, then you're not able to activate that same one unless there is a second instance of that inherited effect. Again, I know it's complicated, but it usually doesn't come up super often, but it can, so I felt like it was good to go over. Alrighty everyone, so into our green interactions. It may not look like a green interaction, but the card here in question is this Metal Tyrannomon that is in sources of this Machine Dramon. And what this is since it has a first color as green, I called it a green interaction. But what we have here is a situation like this. You have a Digimon, in this case I use Machine Dramon just because I had the deck near me, where you have the effect of Metal Tyrannomon in its sources, which says all turns once per turn, this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle, trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. Your opponent has a suspended Digimon. In this case, it really just has to be the same DP as the Digimon on top. So it's a Machine Dramon with 11k, our opponent has a suspended Machine Dramon with 11k. Now, what happens here is this effect doesn't say the same thing as some other effects. When this Digimon deletes a Digimon in battle and survives, then you can go ahead and trash the top card of your opponent's security stack. In this case, it just says when it deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle. But one thing you have to remember is if you say do something like this, where you swing this Machine Dramon with exactly 11k DP into this other Machine Dramon with 11k DP, and they crash, they both get deleted. Well, in this situation, since they both get deleted, you may think that this effect triggers and it's going to go ahead and able to activate because it did delete a Digimon in battle and survives. Well, it deletes a Digimon in battle. It's also deleted itself and sent to the trash. Now, when it's in trash, it's not at the place where it would have triggered, which is on the field. And since it's not on the field where it should trigger, then it's not able to activate. So in this case, even though it doesn't have that little bit of text where it says delete this Digimon in battle, delete an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, just because it doesn't have that means it can be deleted and then still activate the effect. Now, if you somehow prevented the deletion, then sure, you deleted an opponent's Digimon in battle, you prevent the deletion, and you stay on the field. You are good to go. You're able to go ahead and activate that effect. But if it does get deleted and sent to trash, it is not on the field to activate that effect. You cannot activate this effect, even though it doesn't have that little bit of extra text that say something like Starter Deck 5 or Starter Deck 4 Mega Copy Terramon has. Alright everyone, so on to our first of our black card rulings. We're going to start off with a board state like this. Now, this interaction, I'm just going to preface, did cause some confusion. It threw a few people off that weren't exactly sure about how the attack flowchart worked exactly, and there was some confliction with some card-ass emails. Of course, card-ass emails then came back, and then they gave a proper ruling eventually, and then I also got confirmation from the devs to double check and make sure that the ruling is exactly how it works. So, in this case, I'll have the attack flowchart up on screen when it becomes pertinent, but for those of you that know, you may see where this is going if you're one of the judges that was involved in that whole discussion. What we have now to start off with is on our side of the field, we have the Analog Man. All that matters here is that's an Analog Man. We also have the top card of our deck is a Cyborg. That's all that matters. It's a level 5 Cyborg. Our opponent has a security card. The top card, of course, is a Digimon that has bigger than 11k DP, as long as the Digimon that we're going to be attacking with is deleted. The cards in hand that we have, the main two cards are, of course, going to be Machine Dramon. This is the BT11 one. This one states on play, you can search the top 5 of your deck. You add an Analog Man. You can add a Cyborg or Machine to your hand or to the traits or to its Digivolution cards. And then it has the on deletion effect. You may bottom deck one of your Analog Man to play a Machine Dramon from your hand. The second card that we have in question is going to be one of our other big combo pieces of this is going to be Attack of the Heavy Mobile Digimon. This is a 0 cost on main. You can go ahead, you trash a Machine or Cyborg from your hand to give all of your level 6 Machine Digimon Rush, and then if they have a Digivolution card on play, Blitz. We also have the other Machine Dramon that we were going to need for the effect of the BT11 Machine Dramon. Again, all that matters here is that it's on play, lets us slot underneath our Cyborg, this Metal Tyrannomon, from our trash or our hand to the bottoms of its Digivolution cards, gain a memory for each. And then we have a Haguramon in our hand. This is, of course, just because it is a machine, so that we can have it for the effect of Attack of the Heavy Mobile Digimon. So, what we're going to do here is we're going to start our turn off by using Attack of the Heavy Mobile Digimon. We're going to pitch the Haguramon so that we can give all of our level 6 machines Rush and then Blitz if they have a source. Then going to play down our Machine Dramon. Let's say this brings us to like 5 memory on our opponent's side of the field. This triggers 2 things. This triggers its on play to search the top, and then it also triggers its on play Blitz. But if you activate the one where it would have Blitz, you can't activate it because it is on play if it has a Digivolution card Blitz. So it triggers on play, but if it doesn't have Digivolution card, you cannot Blitz. So we'll activate its on play effect first, revealing the card from the top of our deck. It's of course a Metal Tyrannomon that we knew about. We're going to go ahead and slot that one underneath per its on-play effect. This of course will then let us activate the on-play Blitz. Now that it has a source, we are able to activate it properly. We swing the Machinedramon into our opponent's security, hitting of course the big 13k body so that this gets deleted. This triggers the on-deletion effect of the Machinedramon, bottom decking the Analog Man so that we may play a Machinedramon from our hand. Of course, this triggers two on-play effects, triggers the one granted by Attack of the Hook and Mobile Digimon, and its own effect will activate its own effect first, tucking underneath the Metal Tyrannomon so that we gain a memory, and then we also can now properly activate Blitz. Or can we? So in this situation is where I'll put up the attack flowchart. The question that came to me is, can the newly played Machinedramon attack with Blitz? Because the other Machinedramon is deleted, now is the attack considered to be over? Well, if you're looking at the attack flowchart that I should have put up on the screen, you'll notice that it cannot. So when you look at the attack flowchart, we'll start off with security check. If you checked a card in the security effect, resolve it. We did not have an effect. If the check card is a Digimon, battle it with your Digimon. Then compare the DP. If the attacking Digimon has the same or lower DP, it's deleted. If effects occur due to the battle, resolve them. In this case, the effect that occurred was the on-deletion effect of the BT11 Machinedramon, allowing us to play this Machinedramon. Then this Machinedramon had its effect that needed to resolve, and now we are trying to resolve its effect. But again, we're trying to resolve the effects that occurred from the battle. So we're still at the on-play effect for the Blitz. If you look at the attack flowchart, you notice that the attack does not end. The battle hasn't even been considered to be ended yet, because then you have battle ends, the end of battle effects activate, and then from that point we get to the attack ends. In Digimon, you cannot have two attacks occurring at the same time. You'll remember that when you have like something that is blitzed, restands, and is able to have another instance of blitz, can it attack? The answer to that is no, because you already have an ongoing attack. So in this case, this new Machinedramon tries to activate blitz, but it fails to activate properly because of the fact that you are still considered to be in the middle of the attack process. So at this point, the effect fails to activate, battle ends, end of battle effects activate, there are none, now the attack ends. So just know that in this case, if this scenario comes up where you have something that attacks, the memory's over, you have something attacking with blitz that spawns another Digimon that has blitz, you are not able to go ahead and activate that effect because of the fact that your attack has not ended yet. It is a little confusing if you don't know how the exact flowchart is broken down, but if you know how the flowchart is broken down, then you can clearly tell that the attack has not ended. Now, I do want to go ahead and preface this by also saying just because the Digimon is deleted does not mean the attack ends. You have to follow how this flowchart that I have in front of me is broken down. If you do not follow the attack flowchart properly, then if you follow it properly, then you know that you cannot attack with this other Machinedramon. This caused a little bit of controversy, it caused some back and forth. It didn't also help that Card sent a bogus email, but just know, in this situation, the new Machinedramon cannot attack. Alright everyone, so into our next black card ruling. This is going to be a ruling that I had personally asked me a ton. It got asked a lot at Nats, it got asked a lot before Nats, after Nats. I think on the Bandai Organized Play Discord, it got asked like 30 different times in the rules question section. This is going to be about the Your Turn effect of Yu Yu Kuga. Now, what Yu Yu Kuga says is your turn when one of your Digimon digivolves into a Digimon with Greymon its name, suspend this tamer. That Digimon gains plus 2000 DP until the end of their opponent's turn. If this Digimon digivolved into the same level Digimon, it isn't affected by your opponent's option card effects. So here in this example, what we're going to do is we're going to have our opponent end their turn with Ice Wall. Everybody knows what Ice Wall does at this point. The restricted card's too good. Whenever one of your opponents, it gives all of your opponent's Digimon, whenever that Digimon attacks, when attacking, lose 2 memory. So here in this situation, it is a global effect. So people have asked the question, well, does that still consider to affect the Digimon? And in this case, it does. So on our turn, we go ahead and we Digivolve in, assume we're at 3 because they ended turn with Ice Wall. We Digivolve for 2 into Black War Greymon X Antibody. We're able to suspend Yuya since they Digivolved into the same level. They also not only gain the plus 2000, but they also gain the immunity to option cards. So here, the Black War Greymon is able to attack security without, or attack in general, without losing memory due to Ice Wall, because it is still unaffected by your opponent's card effect, or option card effects. So even though the global effects are kind of explained as to being affecting the player, it does affect the Digimon as well. So in this case, the Yuya makes it so that the Black War Greymon is unaffected by these effects. Now, in that same vein, I do want to go over something else that can happen. Let's say we do the same thing. We have our Yuya, we have our Black War Greymon, and we Digivolve into Black War Greymon X Antibody, and say we end turn this way. So now we're under the effect of Yuya because we have the +2 KDP, and then we also have the immunity to option cards. That doesn't negate how option cards affect the Digimon. They just don't have an effect, but they don't negate the effect entirely. And what I mean by that is something like this. What we have is, in our hand, we have 2 copies of Megalospark. Now, for those of you that don't know, the main thing to know here about Megalospark is it gives -8,000 DP until the end of our opponent's turn. So they ended, the player with the Yuya ended on a Black War Greymon that was unaffected by our option cards, and it's on 15 KDP. We're going to go ahead on our turn, say we have enough memory to play both of these Megalosparks. Both of these Megalosparks, just because they don't affect the Black War Greymon currently, does not mean you cannot target the Black War Greymon for the effect, and it still applies. So in this case, you'll go ahead, you use the Megalospark, you target the Black War Greymon, and it does nothing, because until the end of your turn, it's not affected by your opponent's option cards. And then you do the same thing. You activate the second Megalospark, passing the memory back over to our opponent, and again, it does nothing. But at the end of your turn, at the end of our turn, at the start of the Black War Greymon player's turn, that is when the effect of the option card immunity wears off. So he was not affected by option cards then, but after that wears off, the effect of Megalospark is then able to apply because you can still target the Digimon, it just doesn't have an effect on that Digimon yet. But since the effect lasts longer than the turn, the second it loses the immunity effect, it is able to go ahead and be affected by these option cards, thus giving it -16 KDP and then deleting it by rules processing at the start of your turn. So this is an important thing to note is, while it is unaffected, if something happens and that effect wears off when it has an effect that was applied to it, then that effect is able to go ahead. Now, at the same time, I do want to say if this is something like Wyvern's Breath, where it would lose that DP just for the turn, it isn't deleted at the end of turn. The effect of Yuya and the effect of Wyvern's Breath will wear off at the same time, so then the Digimon will not be deleted by rules processing. This only works because of how Megalospark works and that it applies until the end of your opponent's turn. So just kind of know that part going forward as well. Alright everyone, so into our next set of rulings that we have here are going to basically revolve around Mervamon for a couple of rulings. The first one that we're going to go over is going to be an interesting one about how Digicross works and how the timing occurs. So in this case, what we have here is we have Minervamon, which from BT10, for those of you that don't remember, the main thing that we're worried about here is its on deletion effect. If your opponent has 2 or fewer Digimon in play, you can play out a level 5 or lower Digimon from your trash, or a Mervamon from your trash without paying its cost. So what we're going to have here in the trash is an Ignitemon and a Mervamon. All that we're worried about here with Mervamon is that she can Digicross from the trash. We're not even going to worry about her on-play effect. What we have here is then our Minervamon is going to go ahead, swing into security, and assume the top card of our security is a Ulforce Vidramon. It is deleted because Ulforce, of course, is bigger than the 11k of the Minervamon. This then sends Minervamon to trash. She's able to activate her on deletion effect that then lets her play a Mervamon from trash. Now, remember that Digicrossing is able to activate from anywhere. It can activate from when you play it from the trash or when you play it from the hand. So when you would play this card, you can go ahead and Digicross. And then Mervamon also has the ability to Digicross using cards from the trash. Digicross requirements being a card with Crossheart in its traits. So we have the Ignitemon that is in our trash. We will go ahead and have that tucked underneath the Mervamon before she is played, and then Mervamon is officially played. Now, this will activate her on play effect, but at the same time, it also triggers the Your Turn effect of the Ignitemon, which is when a Digimon is played by an effect, gain 1 memory. Since the Ignitemon existed in the Mervamon before it was officially played, the Mervamon is considered to have, or the Ignitemon sees that the Mervamon was played by an effect, and you are able to go ahead and gain back that memory from the Ignitemon because it was played by the effect of the Minervamon. So just know that because of how Digicross works, where it happens, the sources are added before it is officially played, they are able to see effects like this. It is similar to how, like, if a Mastamon plays itself or has another Mastamon played out, that it can see that and it can know that it was played out by an effect and then is able to delete something because of how the effect works. Alright, now the next ruling interaction, again, is going to involve Mervamon, and it's going to involve what happens when you play something that is digicrossed, or when it's digicrossed. So, now we're worried about Mervamon's on-play effect, which is on play when digivolving, you may play a purple level 4 or lower Digimon card, or a one level 4 or lower card with Cross Heart in its traits from your trash without paying its cost. We're going to have 2 Cross Hearts in our trash. Also, if digicrossing, add 1 to the number of cards you play with this effect. Note that it says add 1, and the effect never has an up to. So in this case, let's say we digicross Mervamon and we have 2 Cross Hearts in trash. You have the choice, because Mervamon's effect is a you may, you have the choice to play nothing, of course, because it is an optional effect, or 2 Digimon when you digicross with Mervamon. Well, why not play 1 if I wanted to? Let's say I wanted to keep one of these in trash for some reason. Well, that's not a possibility because you have to, there's no up to effect. So Mervamon plays, when she digicrosses, plays a maximum plus 1 to the 1, so that makes it 2, or you play 0 and decide not to activate the effect. So if there are 2 legal targets in trash, you have to play both of them. You cannot choose to just play 1, you have to play both. Now, that being said, if you digicross and you only have 1 in trash, you of course do as much as you can per Digimon, and you play out the Starmons using the effect of Mervamon. But if you have 2 legal targets and you digicross, your only choice is to play 0 cards or to play 2 cards, per the fact that the effect never has up to in the effect title. And the last interaction that I have to go over is going to be for the only white card that I could think of a pertinent interaction for, and that is going to be Taiki, Kiriha, and Nene. Now, this card may be something that you don't think about being an issue, but this card actually has an errata that hasn't been announced yet. What this card states that we're worried about is the Your Turn effect. When you would play a Digimon card with Digicross requirements, by suspending this tamer, you may place cards from under your tamers as Digivolution cards for Digicross. Now, why does that an issue? That doesn't seem like it's anything crazy. Well, what this card is supposed to say, and what it is listed in Japanese, and that's what takes precedence in the game, is when you would play 1 Digimon card with Digicross requirements, suspend this tamer. Meaning that this card is only able to trigger whenever you play an effect that, whenever you only play 1 Digicrossing Digimon. Now, what does that mean? So, normally, you play your Digicross Cross 4, and then you're able to use the sources underneath for the Digicross, everything's nice and dandy, all that. Now what happens, let's say this Cross 4 and this Shoutmon Cross, or Shoutmon plus Star Sword are in the trash, and you go ahead, play from your hand, and Digicross Mervamon, activating her effect to play back both of these. Are you able to activate, are you able to even trigger the Triple Tamer? And the answer to that is no, because even though it is not officially listed on the card, I promise you it works this way, that you can only Digicross, you can only trigger this effect when you play 1 Digimon. So when you play the Mervamon, you actually would have triggered the effect, but you decide not to activate it, say using the Ignitmon from your hand or using the Ignitmon from your trash. But if you try to then play these 2 out, both of these simultaneously, that is playing 2 Digimon with Digicross requirements. That is not 1 Digimon. So this effect isn't even actually able to trigger. You cannot activate this effect to tuck underneath both. So you couldn't get to like suspend it and choose like 1 under 1 or 1 under the other, or choose to put all underneath. The card doesn't even trigger. Now this is, if you look at Taiki Kudo from BT11, Taiki specifically says when you would play 1 Digimon with Digicross requirements. That is exactly what this Triple Tamer is supposed to say. It is not supposed to say a Digimon, it's supposed to specifically say 1. So if you have a situation like this, where you play out 2 Digicross Digimon at the exact same time, the effect doesn't trigger, you cannot activate this effect to Digicross any of your Digicrossable Digimon. Alrighty everyone, and that is going to do it for today's video. I know it has been kind of a long one. I tried to keep it a little bit shorter, but of course some of them required a little bit more discussion, so I tried to keep it below 30 minutes, but I'm sure it is over 30 minutes, because they always end up over 30 minutes. But with all that being said, I thank you guys for the continued support on the channel. I know the videos have not been anywhere, and I know this video is significantly late for BT11 release, because BT12 release is coming out soon, but you can look forward to the BT12 release rulings video coming up either by pre-release or at least least by official release, worst case scenario. So, but I do want to say, if I did miss any rulings, be sure to leave your comments down and below. I will try to answer those as best I can, or you can have a look over on the Bandai Organized Play Discord server. There's a lot of rulings go over there. I will try to say, if you are commenting on this video, keep them focused to BT11. Don't ask any BT12 questions or anything like that, because that will be on the BT12 video coming out, and we'll just try to keep everything there. But I've rambled on enough. Thank you guys, as always, for the continued support on the channel. I'll try to keep some content going now that it's about to hit summer, get a little bit more free time to make some videos. So thank you guys so much. If you did enjoy the content, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Of course, leave your comments down below any way that you want to about questions or just general comments. Always love to read those and see those. But thank you guys so much for watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.